As many of 1 in 4 of us will experience some problems with our mental health at some point in our lives, and for many reasons. Mental ill health can affect anyone of any age, gender or seniority in the workplace. Therefore, as an employer, it's likely that at some point you will need to support someone who's experiencing mental health issues. When you work with people on a day-to-day basis, subtle changes in their performance and behaviour become noticeable. Maybe the once outgoing salesperson has become quiet and withdrawn, or another otherwise reliable employee has suddenly started having time off sick. Some employees find it easy to talk about their mental health and will actively seek support. Others, however, find it more difficult, particularly if they fear judgment or repercussions. It can be tempting to ignore the situation, but it's important to be proactive if you have concerns that an employee may be experiencing mental ill health. So for Time to Talk Day, we're going to show you how you can have a conversation with an employee about their mental health. It would normally be the employee's line manager that would approach them in the first instance, unless for some reason that's not appropriate. The closeness of the working relationship means that an employee is more likely to open up to their line manager about any difficult issues in an informal setting. Well, first of all, make sure that you arrange for any meeting to take place somewhere private, where you can have a discussion on a one-on-one basis and not be disturbed. At the start of the conversation, approach the issue in a sensitive and calm manner and assure the employee that any discussions will be kept confidential. Ask how they're doing and be prepared to give examples of any concerns, such as, "I noticed you were a bit quiet at the meeting yesterday. Is anything bothering you?" Remember to ask simple, open and non-judgmental questions, and be patient and listen carefully. Well, first and foremost, don't make any assumptions and reassure them that you're there to try and help. Check whether they've been to the GP, and if so, what's been recommended and whether they've been prescribed any medication. You should find out whether any medication will affect their ability to carry out their job role. Discuss with them what you can do to support them and whether there's any parts of the job that they feel they're struggling with. If they're currently absent from work, then it can be useful to discuss whether there's any ideas or anything you can do to help them come back to work. It can also be useful to discuss whether it would be pertinent to get any further medical advice or information, for example through raising questions with their GP or having them participate in an occupational health assessment. As mental health conditions can amount to a disability under the Equality Act 2010, it's important that employers seek legal advice on their obligations in any specific circumstances. In particular, employers of disabled employees have a duty to make reasonable adjustments to make sure an employee is not placed at a disadvantage. What's reasonable can depend on the circumstances, but for example can include adjustments to working hours or workloads. In addition, you should signpost an employee to any additional sources of support within the business, such as mental health champions or an employee assistance programme. If necessary, you can also signpost them to external sources of support, such as the charity Mind. For some people, seeing someone get upset can be difficult to deal with, but it's important to stay calm and keep your own emotions in check. Whilst it can be useful to offer to take a break, what's often needed is for you to simply listen. You can encourage the employee to see their GP if they've not done already, and signpost them to any sources of support such as the employee assistance programme. If an employee is experiencing difficulties at home, such as with finances or a relationship breakdown, it can be useful to put them in touch with Citizens Advice Bureau, who will be able to advise them in that situation. Well, first and foremost, stay calm and listen. You do not have to tolerate any abuse, but often employees are not directing their anger at you, but at the situation. Try to reassure them that you're there to help, and as a manager, you're responsible for their well-being at work. If necessary, adjourn for a break and give the employee space to calm down before returning to the discussion. If an employee denies any issues, it's important to respect their position, but remind them that you're always there to talk to if they need to. If there's been any specific concerns about their performance or conduct, it's important to take advice on how to raise this. Do remember that some individuals find it very difficult to ask for help, and therefore it can take some time for them to open up about any situation. If an employee has disclosed that they're experiencing mental ill health, then you may feel it's important to tell others in the company, such as first aiders or the management team. If that's the case, it's important to agree with the employee what can be disclosed and what information they're comfortable sharing. Well, please don't think you have to become a medical expert in order to support an employee with mental health problems. Citation are not medical experts either, yet our expert team of employment law and HR advisors help guide employers through these issues every single day. Whilst you don't need to be an expert, it's important to break the stigma and increase your awareness. And you can do this by getting in touch with some of the fantastic organisations that we've listed below.